This is my go. Welcome back, everybody. Going back on Shannon after taking a ring from George.
Oh.
I wonder what that could mean. Oh.
Yeah, real mysterious.
It's very mysterious. It's a mystery novel, guys.
Yeah.
All a mystery. So,
Kick us off.
Shannon entered the entrance hall to the mansion with a tottering gait. A mixture of exultation and uncertainty gave her a feeling that she couldn't easily describe. It swelled up in her chest, and until it felt like she was about to burst. After stopping for a second in front of the servant room to take a deep breath and calm her heart, she opened the door. Inside, Goda, who had been ordered to take the midnight shift at the mansion tonight, was absorbed in a worn-out crossword puzzle magazine. He looked up for an instant to see if one of the family had come, but when he realized it was a fellow servant, he returned to his puzzle as if nothing had happened.
Genji-sama told me to come and help you.
Is that so? That's a relief. I was just about to go check on the mansion, that the mansion was fully locked up, but I felt uneasy about leaving this ruined land. After all, Kraft-sama and the others' meeting looks as though it will continue for quite some time. They might request some tea at any moment.
That's true. Then what shall we do? Should I watch over?
In that case, forgive me, Shannon-san, but I'll ask that you patrol the mansion. I will stay here, awaiting the family's orders.
Yes.
Shannon was slightly disgusted. Even though she'd come here to help out as a favor, she was casually being forced to do the job of the person actually on duty. Furthermore, after one-sidedly forcing that task on her, Goda returned to his magazine once again and became immersed in his crossword puzzle. What an asshole.
What an asshole.
Shannon bowed her head as a token sign of respect for her elder, then left the room to patrol the mansion. Thanks to her being a bit ticked off, she managed to suppress that floaty feeling she'd been having until just now. And anyway, she couldn't let Genji or Cannon see her looking like this. She wanted a little time to herself until her heart calmed down, so maybe going on patrol wouldn't be so bad. She began to hear the tumultuous voices of the family discussion coming from the dining hall.
I really love the disappearance of the happy piano. That was really...
Noticeable.
Yeah, very noticeable.
Yeah. Alright. Someone was speaking at great length, only to be interrupted by someone else. This second person also began to speak in a very long, drawn-out fashion, until yet another person interrupted. That kept on repeating. It was as though their displeasure was seeping out through their voices. She had been told to go to the guest house, so it would be bad if Kraus discovered her. Thinking this, Shannon dashed past the dining hall. Then, she went along a pre-arranged route through the dark mansion, checking that all the locks were secure. She walked down the hall, checking each window. There were no humans on Rikkenjima other than those connected to the family, so locking up didn't really serve much of a purpose. No one had been in the habit of locking up at the Yoshimiya head family, at least not until Natsuhi had scolded them for being careless. The metal fixtures on the windows were ice cold, and as she checked them one by one, the glow in her heart seemed to cool down. Question mark?
Huh? Oh. Goodness me.
Butterflies. Sure, it's fine.
I was not expecting that.
Yeah. At that time, she thought she saw something twinkling across the hall. Twinkling? How could anything be twinkling through the darkness of the hall? She figured she must have been imagining it, but she still held her breath. Grasping a curtain, she fearfully gazed down the hall. However, other than the occasional crack of thunder brightening the hallway, she was unable to glimpse any flicker again. It must have been her imagination after all. Maybe her heart was so agitated that she'd seen something that didn't even exist. Shannon went back to checking the windows. However, a certain unnerving memory was resurrected in the back of her mind. It was that ghost story, which had been passed down amongst the servants who served the Yoshimiya head family. The mansion had two different masters, one of the day and one of the night. Beatrice, the master of the night, would sometimes fly around the mansion in the form of sparkling butterflies. That was the story. Come to think of it, didn't Canon once say he'd seen it with his own eyes? Though he got sulky when I said he must have imagined it and refused to believe him. Could it possibly be true? The roar of the thunder gave no answer. Clock's back.
Uh-huh.
And there's rain
What is
everywhere.
this shot actually, like that one there? It keeps showing it, but it's so distorted by the rain, I can't tell what it is.
I believe it's the courtyard of the
Right.
mansion. It's directly adjacent to the rose garden, I think.
Like, I'm sure it's a picture we've seen before. It's just so distorted
this is
by the rain. I can't
this
tell.
is the like
that one's easy.
Kinzo's room, and we're looking up from the courtyard.
Yeah, that one's easy.
This is the main entrance. Well, one of the main halls.
Really held that last one for a while.
Yeah. It's 12. Midnight.
Oh, is that what that... I can't actually hear that.
The donging? You can't hear that?
I can't hear it clearly, but I can hear it.
It's faint.
Ah, yeah.
Here it is.
I'm waiting for that picture to change. Ah! What a fake out. What a fake out.
Keep watching.
Oh god, I thought we were about to start dialogue. Oh.
No, this isn't dialogue. This isn't dialogue. We're just getting a good
Eva.
look at all of the humans on the island.
That's a mysteriously black background.
Yeah, not sure where Nanjo is right now. It's in the guest house. Then Kinzo.
I was really waiting for it to change.
Oh, God.
Is that it?
Hold on. Sure,
Oh,
it's
that
fine.
was a really off note.
Oh, it's, yeah. Very strange. Now look at this clock go. Look at all that time that's passed. 6 whole hours.
So it's the morning now.
It's morning now. 6 a.m.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
That was a very short chapter.
It was. Let's keep going. Maybe it's a lead up. The second day, October 5th, 1986. Holy nuts.
So,
Yeah.
are we... Is this second episode now? I assume the second episode will be very obvious when it happens.
It will be. This is not the second episode.
Alrighty.
We're still in the first episode.
Alrighty.
It's okay. We got this. Genji tightened his bow tie and looked outside through a crack in the curtains. Maybe the rain had died down a tiny bit since the previous night. But the thick rain clouds didn't seem like they'd be letting any trace of the morning sun get by. The morning was dim and far from refreshing. It seems it will last all day after all. Sorry for keeping you waiting, Genji-sama. Cannon finished checking his appearance and exited the washroom. On their normal schedule, it was rare for anyone to have to suffer going straight from a midnight shift to an early morning shift. They were on a special schedule for the 2 days of the family conference. However, unless the typhoon passed today, the relatives' stay on this island would last until tomorrow. Cannon thought it best to be prepared for the special schedule to last an extra day. Right. The two of them left the guest house, opening their umbrellas. The rose garden had been devastated by the wind and rain on the previous night. Even though they spent several days making it beautiful to welcome the guests, one stormy night was enough to ruin it. Cannon sighed. The two headed for the mansion. They were supposed to meet up with Goda and prepare breakfast. Goda was such a perfectionist that he had probably already woken up and was probably already preparing a breakfast as exquisite and elegant as glasswork. They reached the overhang by the entrance to the mansion and folded up their umbrellas. Genji took a bundle of several keys from his pocket and unlocked the front door. The Ushiramiya family mansion was the only thing on Rokkenjima, so in the past they hadn't been in the habit of locking up. However, Natsuhi had ordered that the mansion be locked up from midnight to early morning. Ever since then, unlocking the door in the early morning had become part of the servants' morning shift. This task had been given to Genji and Cannon so that Goda could start preparing breakfast as soon as he woke up. Silence had fallen in the mansion, giving the impression that the mansion itself was still asleep. Well then, let us begin the morning chores. Yes, sir. The two of them split up and began opening the curtains throughout the mansion. If the curtains stayed closed, the mansion would remain enveloped in faint darkness as though it was still trapped in the previous night.
Alright.
That's way too quick.
Yeah.
Calm your trigger finger there.
That was, I just
John Wayne,
accidentally
come on.
relaxed my hand.
Following a well-rehearsed procedure, Cannon went around the mansion, opening the curtains for one window after another without having to retrace his steps once. Even with this horrible weather, drawing the curtains made it feel just a little bit like morning. While doing that, he passed in front of the kitchen. Even though he hadn't smelled anything yet, his stomach started aching for some of Goda's prized cooking. Good morning. Question mark. He tried to greet Goda, who should have been getting breakfast ready, but Goda was nowhere to be seen. The kitchen was darkly lit, and not only were the curtains not open, but the fan wasn't even running. It was still cold, without any trace of a fire being lit, so of course there were no signs of breakfast being made either. Though it would have been inexcusable, perhaps Goda had overslept. Even servants are only human.
Sure they are.
They sometimes sleep in and show up late. In the rare case that such a thing happens, it's part of a servant's code to hide the unsightly scene before anyone notices, smoothly cover it up, and make sure the family never even realizes that anything has gone wrong. Cannon took the receiver of the phone that had been fitted to the wall and dialed the number of the extension line in the servant's sleeping room. He couldn't hear that characteristic sound of a dial tone. Cannon tried picking up the receiver again, but even so he couldn't hear the usual dial tone. He tried dialing again, but it had no apparent effect. Did the lightning last night have damaged the machine, breaking the extension line? The equipment in this mansion was all worn out. Cannon fully understood that even the smallest thing could have caused it to break down. He gave up trying to wake Goda with the phone and dashed over to the servant's sleeping room. How long has it been since I stopped sleeping and started lazily staring up at the ceiling? That vague sense of awakening was part of Natsuhi's usual morning experience. She always slept lightly, and she couldn't sleep at all without medicine. To Natsuhi, sleep was definitely not a happy thing. When she looked outside, she saw that it was still pouring. If she hadn't sensed a tiny amount of light, she might have mistakenly thought it was still the previous night. She herself was one of the hosts, so she mustn't wake up later than her guests. Urging herself on, she raised up her body, which still hadn't completely recovered from yesterday's weariness. No one would torment her as long as she remained inside this room, and her headache wouldn't get any worse here. This room was the only place she could find peace. So when she left, it meant returning to the world where her husband's siblings kept trying to stab each other in the back. In that case, wouldn't it be better to just stay locked up in this room forever? That ridiculous notion brought a bitter smile to Natsuhi's face. She was starting to sound like Kinzo. Though she often complained about Kinzo staying locked up in his own room and refusing to attend to everyone else, the truth was that she longed to do the same. Natsuhi gave her head a small shake, and her fantasy was replaced by the reawakening of her usual headache. When she reached for the doorknob, trying to leave the room, her hand touched the scorpion charm that she had hung from it before going to sleep the previous night. It was Maria's charm, which Natsuhi had received from Jessica. Didn't Jessica say something about having the power to repel magic, telling her to hang it from her doorknob? Maybe it was thanks to the charm that at least this room had been protected from the malice of her husband's siblings. As she thought this, her mood began to get a little more cheerful. I wonder if I have Jessica to thank for the little bit of peaceful sleep I managed to receive. Then Natsuhi remembered. That's right, last night, I promised Jessica that I'd give her a charm of my own exchange for this one, didn't I? Natsuhi opened a drawer on her dresser and took out an antique accessory case that she had treasured when she was a child. Inside, there were many small objects that Natsuhi had thought were valuable at the time. From amidst those, she pulled out a red pouch. Inside was a small round mirror about 10 centimeters across. It looked quite old, but the design on the back of the mirror was very ornate, and it felt like something with historical value. At the very least, it seemed much more authentic than the other charm, which looked like a plastic scorpion keychain. She had heard that this was a very spiritual mirror for warding off evil spirits. She had been given it specially by her grandmother when her grandfather's mementos had been distributed. It had been believed since long ago that a strange power resided in this mirror. Perhaps people thought it could reflect calamity and malice in the same way it reflected light. Natsuhi returned the mirror to its pouch. It would probably be a fitting object to hand over to Jessica. Just as she was placing it in her pocket, the sound of someone knocking on the door suddenly echoed throughout the room. Yes? Good morning, madam. It is Genji. My apologies for waking you so early. I'm coming now. What is it? No servant had ever come to her this early in the morning, nor had they come to wake her in person. Perhaps something bad had happened. Maybe some fatal oversight had been made while preparing breakfast, something that would shame the household in front of their guests. Natsuhi took a deep breath in anticipation for whatever troubles she was about to hear of. When she opened the door, Genji once again gave a morning greeting while bowing deeply. Natsuhi tentatively responded. Good morning. Did something happen? My apologies. It would seem that the telephones have broken down due to the lightning last night. The extension telephone isn't working, so please forgive my coming to see you directly. The extension telephone isn't working? That'll be troublesome. Would it be possible to fix it? I am afraid we don't know the location of the damage. Later on, I would like to call in an expert and have him repair it. Does that mean we'll be unable to have it repaired until after the typhoon passes? And it will remain broken down for the duration of our guest's stay? Will that hamper our efforts to care for our guests? We will do all we can to ensure there are no problems. Very well. I'm counting on you to make sure we have no blunders. Nancy let out a small sigh of relief. She'd been prepared for the worst. The damage to the telephones wasn't the kind of trouble she was worried about. Then again, even this would probably be enough to spark sarcasm from Eva. Nancy gave her head a light shake. Are the preparations for breakfast proceeding well? As to that, we haven't been able to find Goda. The arrangements for breakfast have yet to be carried out. What did you say? Natsuhi was indignant. To her, this was a much bigger problem than the phones not working. And despite that, this piece of information was the part that had been postponed. Why did everything go well most of the time and then come to something like this when the relatives were visiting? Natsuhi put her hand to her forehead and shook her head. Well, I suppose he slept in. At any rate, just see to it that someone hurries up and prepares breakfast. I don't care who. What? Natsuhi exited into the hall and turned around for a second to close the door to her room. The creepy thing she saw there silenced her completely. It was an unpleasant sight, as though someone had dipped their fingers in a reddish-black liquid and scratched at the door around the doorknob. It was probably some sort of awful prank.
I love the red arrow.
Yeah, I love it. It's such, arranged by some person who wanted to make it look as though they tried to force a door with bloody hands. What sort of prank is this? How awful! I also just noticed as I came to call you. I will clean it later. So calm. But perhaps this is a vulgar joke by one of the guests. Disgusting, truly disgusting. Who in the world would pull such a childish and disgusting prank? Nancy had a pretty good idea, but of course there was no proof. So, even if she pushed the issue, it would just seem as though she was making a fuss about nothing. In fact, it would surely be better to act as though she hadn't even realized that such a prank had been played on her. Natsuhi gave the order to have it cleaned and headed off to the parlor with a squeak of her heels. When Natsuhi and Genji arrived in the parlor, Eva and Hideyoshi were already there. Good morning, everyone. Morning, Natsuhi-san. I heard Goda-san would be making us breakfast, too. My stomach's been getting all excited since I woke up.
After all, it seems food is all you can look forward to at the head family household.
I'm pleased to see that you two are in high spirits so early in the morning, Eva-san. With a weary expression, Natsuhi returned Eva's gaze, which was fiercely competitive despite the early hour. Then Cannon dropped in. After bowing an apology to the relatives for running inside the mansion, he noticed Genji and told him something in a small voice. Cannon, have you still not found Goda? My apologies, madam. I went all over the inside of the mansion and the guest house, but I still haven't found him. Where in the world has he gone? At any rate, breakfast is a higher priority than finding Goda right now. See to it immediately. Yes. Cannon glanced at Genji. It seemed he had something else to report, but was uncertain whether or not the words should come from him. Genji nodded and decided to give the report himself. Madam, it is not only Goda. Your husband is also nowhere to be found. My husband? Yes. Even before visiting you, I went to his room to tell him that breakfast wasn't being prepared, but I did not find him there. Furthermore, he is not the only one missing.
Oh, goodness.
Rudolph-sama, his wife, and Rosa-sama are nowhere to be found.
Oh god, they are all dead.
Not in the guest house. Not the mansion. Yes. They were not in their rooms in the guest house either. When she'd heard that Gerda alone was missing, she'd assumed he had slept in or was loafing around somewhere. However, now that she'd learned that several of the relatives were also nowhere to be seen, she began to take a slightly more optimistic view. Could last night's family conference have continued all night up until the present moment? If so, they might have wanted to cool their heads after being shut in a stuffy room, going out for walks in their own through the rain. The part about cooling their heads really sounded like something that Kraus would say. Gerda had probably been summoned to accompany them and aid them in some way. Gerda was not a man who lost track of time. He had to understand that preparations for breakfast would be hindered if he did not return. However, maybe the family conference had continued until this very moment, with an atmosphere that would make it hard for anyone to slip out. Yes, that theory would be quite convincing for Natsuhi. She remembered the illusion she'd felt that morning, so the previous night had never ended. When she learned that the feeling wasn't just an illusion, she once again took a deep, weary breath. After all, that banquet of filthy vultures circling Kinzo's property was still going on. Perhaps they are still discussing the inheritance somewhere in the garden, or perhaps the beach. At any rate, if we don't call Gerda back, we'll never be able to begin preparations for breakfast. So what are you saying? Are Nissan and the rest still continuing their discussion? She had planned to say it in a small voice, but Hideyoshi overheard Natsuhi and managed to grasp the situation.
Nissan and Rudolph sure are tough. Maybe it's just youth in Rosa's case. Just a bit after midnight, the two of us were so tired we headed back to bed. I do remember that Nissan and the rest were still having a heated discussion at that point. Men certainly are unpleasant when they get all fired up.
Natsuhi snorted, her face still blank. Cannon, search outside. If you find Gerda, tell him to return immediately and begin preparing breakfast. Certainly.
Wait, did we see everyone in that, pan over at the end?
We did. Every single character that we've met.
Okay.
All 18 of them.
Uh-huh.
Oh god.
Natsuhi-san, we don't know for sure that they're outside, do we? Couldn't they also be inside Father's study?
I see, that's certainly possible. I don't know what path the conversation took, but there's certainly a chance they moved to Father's study and let him in on their discussion. I can't imagine that Father would willingly let them bring such a detestable topic into his study.
You really think so? Well then, there's nothing we can do. I'm sorry, Genji-san and Kanan-kun, but could you search outside? Wouldn't be that strange for Nissan to suggest they go outside for a walk to cool their heads, even in this weather. I'll go to Father's study. Who knows, they might actually be there after all.
Eva-san, I couldn't ask a guest like you to exert yourself, sir. I will go. I can also wish him a good morning while I'm at it.
Oh, then I'll leave it in your hands, though I somehow doubt he'll return your greeting. Natsuhi-san, have you always been on such good terms with Father?
I don't know whether you could call it that, but I'm sure that I have gained his trust as the wife of the successor to the Oshinomiya family.
What a fucking mouthful.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he'll at least answer you, right? I'd like to at least have breakfast with Father. Do you think you could convince him to come down and join us? It seems he thoroughly despises the rest of us, but I'm sure he'll listen to you if he trusts you that much. After speaking so boldly, if you're unable to convince Father to come down alone, then I doubt he'll ever be able to claim that you've earned his trust again.
Oh! I'm not confident, but I will try. Natsuhi responded, looking discouraged. However, knowing Kinzo's temperament, she had absolutely no confidence in her ability to bring him out. Great. Eva was clearly mocking her, confident that Natsuhi wouldn't be able to get Kinzo to come down. But even so, Natsuhi would lose face if she gave up, saying it was impossible letting Eva go instead. Eva's mean-spirited, unreasonable demand made Natsuhi clench her fist slightly. When Genji realized this, he softly spoke to her over her shoulder. Madam, please take this if you would. And this is... Genji handed Natsuhi a sparkling gold key of ornate design. It was the key to Kinzo's study. The study had an auto lock and couldn't be unlocked as long as Kinzo forbade entrance. However, since Genji was especially trusted by Kinzo, he was allowed to carry a key to that door. But if this key is used, won't you also receive the blame? When the master is sleeping deeply, simply knocking on the door will not suffice. And it would be more difficult to persuade the master to leave his room if you must talk through the door. Please use this. Genji. Until now, Natsuhi had thought of Genji as a cold servant who wouldn't do anything for her, since since he worked directly under Kinzo, but it looked like she would have to alter her understanding of him. She wanted to communicate her gratitude, but by then Genji had already turned his back on her and was walking down the corridor with Cannon. But as Natsuhi watched them go, the words directed her from behind were sneering.
Well then, you must bring father with you, okay? After all, it's his son's precious wife who's asking. I'm sure he'll listen to you. We guess so it'll just relax here at our leisure.
Quit it, Eva. You're taking this too far. Sorry, Natsuhi-san. We're counting on you to deal with father. Without answering, Natsuhi forcefully spun around on her heels and quickly left that place. This is you.
After all the excitement the previous night, there was no way anyone was going to wake up early. George, Nikki, Jessica, and I were snoring loudly on the beds in the cousin's room.
On the bread? Man.
On the beds in the cousin's room. Get over yourself. But Maria, who'd gone straight to bed without joining in, was completely awake.
Ooh.
She rubbed her sleepy eyes and looked around. She was met with the loud snoring of the other three cousins. For a while, Maria had to think about what had happened. After that, she realized her mother wasn't with her, and she quickly got lonely. Maria left the cousin's room, trying to head to the room that had been arranged for her and her mother. Paying no heed to the three who were sleeping soundly, she slammed the door shut. In response, Battler mumbled and rolled over in his sleep, but it wasn't enough to wake him up. After a while, Maria returned, once again opening the door with a lively bang.
Ew!
When she'd left the room, her face had been sleepy, but now she was back, she looked irritated. After that, she climbed up on Battler's bed, which happened to be the closest, and started yelling and jumping on it like it was a trampoline.
Ew! Ew! Wake up! Ew! Bounce, bounce, bounce.
What? Is it an enemy raid? Surround them. I get it, because he's a battler.
Yeah, he's the fight man!
Yay! After making sure I was awake, Maria moved over to George and Niki's bed and started jumping on that too. In that manner, the three of us were all greeted with an extremely pleasant awakening.
Thanks for waking us up, Maria-chan.
He should not look that happy nor be that well dressed at this hour of the morning.
Look, he sleeps in his suit. Don't judge him. Don't judge these characters.
He goes to the beach in the same clothes.
It's
I can't
true.
blame him.
He's just got sand in the bed. Oh my god. You stopped us from sleeping in after that late night. If only you could have been a bit more gentle about it.
George Nisam, you really are an adult. I respect that. It's 7 o'clock soon. It's not really a bad time to wake up. That was nearly a genuine yawn.
Yeah, that's right. Ooh, Mama's not here. Ooh. Aunt Rosa? She wasn't in her room. I wonder if she's already woken up and gone to the mansion. Not here. Ooh. Ooh. Mama. Ooh.
Maria kept groaning ooh and looking unhappy. She didn't exactly seem lonely because her mother wasn't around. It was more like she was irritated and thrown off balance because her mother wasn't where she was expected.
Object permanency, it's a thing.
Yep. If we could tell her just where her mother was, that alone would probably calm her down, but unfortunately, we had no way of knowing where Aunt Rosa was, except that she wasn't there. Anyway, it's time for breakfast, so let's head over to the mansion. That's right. Maria, let's go to the mansion together, okay? I'm sure Aunt Rosa will be there too.
Ooh. Mama's in the mansion. And I'll go there. Ooh. Yeah, I guess we should go to the mansion. Our parents have probably already gone there.
Maria regained her usual composure so completely her earlier tantrum seemed like a lie. We got dressed, left the room, and headed for the mansion. They got dressed out of their suits into other suits.
Yeah, that look exactly the same.
Yep.
This is my sleeping suit, this is my beach suit, this is my swimming suit. And they're all the same color and design.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Fashion. Once more, there was a knocking sound on the study door, but there was no answer. He seemed to be sleeping still, and I could not wake him. If she went back downstairs and said something like that, Eva would probably be amused and triumphant. And even putting Eva aside, it was problematic that Kinzo had stayed shut away during this entire once-a-year conference, not even coming down to greet anyone. Even the family head, no, especially the family head, couldn't fail to make an appearance. I wonder if I can convince him myself. Natsuhi readied herself and used the key that she borrowed from Genji to open the door. Here we go. Sure, this will be fine.
I'm sure nothing will go wrong and there will be no witches in here.
No witches in here.
No witches in here.
Even though she was prepared for the sweet stench, which seemed to eat into one's brain as it poured out the small crack in the door, she couldn't help but grimace. Thinking that he might still be sleeping, Natsuhi entered the room quietly.
I'm excited.
Yeah. Kinzo! When she did, Kinzo was already awake and looking down out of the window. So you were awake? Good morning.
How did you get in?
Kinzo spoke with his back still facing her, like a badass. His voice was not harsh, but calm, like a badass, and Natsuhi was slightly reassured.
Not like a badass.
Yeah, less so. However, though he was awake, he would have ignored all the knocking if he was in a good mood. Natsuhi wasn't able to relax. My sincere apologies. I asked Genji-san and he allowed me to borrow the key to his study.
Oh, Genji. If my friend thought it was that important, then I have no choice but to listen. So what business do you have with me?
But well, breakfast will be ready soon and I would greatly appreciate if you would join us.
I will eat here. Have it brought here like always.
But father, this family conference happens only once a year. Please, at least let them see your face.
Go back downstairs. Are you asking me to join in as they discuss how to chew up my inheritance after I die? How foolish. Let them speak of such matters as they please, without me. If that's what you call a family conference, it's hardly worth leaving my room for it. I'm busy. Do not bother me.
His last words carried the threat that any further questions would
not be appreciated.
Nice work, guys. Natsuhi realized that adding any further pleas would finally bring his wrath down upon her. She didn't look forward to facing Eva's sarcasm, but there was nothing more Natsuhi could do. Is that so? Understood. I am sure everyone will be sorry to hear it, but I will tell them. Natsuhi decided to give up. Dying silently, she tried to leave the room before Kinzo's spasmodic temper could flare up.
That must have been an interesting word to translate from Japanese.
Yeah, spasmodic. As she did, Kinzo spoke to her spasmodically. His voice was so calm and gentle, it felt like it came from an entirely different person.
Natsuhi, it has been quite some time since you married into the Ashiramiya family.
Yes. It has been many years since I was first permitted to bear the name Ashiramiya.
Do you sometimes long for your previous family?
No. Marriage means abandoning your birth family. I am Ashiramiya Natsuhi. The Ashiramiya family is the only family I can come home to, the only one I am fond of. She truly wasn't exaggerating. Such was the resolve she felt whenever she applied the Ashiramiya family name to herself. And that's precisely why she was so saddened when her husband didn't treat her like a Ashiramiya, leaving her to race about in vain.
If Kraus were a woman, and you his husband, no, I won't say that.
What do you mean by that, father? Natsuhi was shocked. Kinzo's words just now were what they seemed. It would have been more than enough to make up for all she'd suffered up to that point.
Forget it. It's just the nonsense of an old man.
Oh. Kinzo once again faced away from her. He told her to forget it, but Natsuhi couldn't help feeling a warmth in her heart. Father, even though I, Natsuhi, am not connected to you by blood, I am still your daughter. I will most assuredly see to it that your honor and glory and everything you've left behind are protected.
You do not have the right to wear the one-winged eagle. However, the one-winged eagle is surely engraved in your heart. That is irrefutable proof that you are my blood relative, one who will inherit the glory of the Ashiramiya family. Some will sneer that there is no eagle on your clothes. Such words are not worth lending an ear to. Only those who hold the eagle in their hearts are my true blood relatives. I now consider it an honor that you are welcomed into the Ashiramiya family.
Without saying anything more, Kinzo remained with his back to Natsuhi. However, Natsuhi couldn't help but feel something warm well up inside her that she hadn't felt since long ago when she had just been a child. Natsuhi bowed silently to his back and left the room.
Well, that was the, warmest scene we've had in a while.
Yeah, even Kinzo could be kind of nice sometimes.
Sometimes. Good timing, House, Father. You were taking so long, I came to check.
When Natsuhi left the study, she saw Eva climbing the stairs and their eyes met. Eva was smirking unpleasantly, thinking that Natsuhi would leave drudgingly after failing failing to convince Kinzo. However, the way Natsuhi was now, such a frivolous laugh would not disturb her. She was not permitted to wear the family crest on her clothing, but she was permitted to wear it in her heart. So she spoke calmly, clearly, and confidently, with the dignity of the one who would protect the Ushimiya family's glory. Father said he would not join in on the family conference. He says he has no interest in discussing such obscene matters.
I figured you'd say something like that. If you failed to persuade Father, just say so.
How pitiful. I'm beginning to see why Father lamented so.
What do you mean by that?
Natsuhi did not answer. Just as Kinzo had done earlier, she showed Eva her back as she headed down the stairs. Eva finally I know, like a vamp. Eva finally realized that she was being made fun of, but something had happened to quickly bolster Natsuhi's confidence. Even so, she apparently didn't have the courage to risk Kinzo's wrath. Unable to even knock on the door, she could only click her tongue, make a motion as though scratching at it, and follow after Natsuhi.
So when Nissan and the rest there, did you ask Father about them?
I didn't get the chance to ask, but they were not inside the study. Father would never let them into his room to discuss such a lowly topic, so it is unlikely he knows where they went. Let us go downstairs and wait for the servants to return for their search. Breakfast may be late, but how would you like some tea, Eva-san?
That would be fine.
Oh! Eva couldn't hide her confusion at the complete difference in Natsuhi's attitude. She was acting so boldly, and while Eva hated to admit it, she even had a sense of dignity about her. Unable to find fault with anything, Eva could only follow Natsuhi back to the parlor. Yeah. When the two of them... Oh, this is it. This is your room, I guess.
Is
The
it?
4 children here. Well, I can read this page if you like.
Yeah,
but
sure.
We'll get to battle soon. When the two of them returned to the parlor, Hideyoshi had been joined by the 4 children and Najo. Genji, who had been talking with Hideyoshi, reported the current situation when he noticed that Natsuhi had returned. You still have not found my husband and the rest? Yes, my apologies. Also, Kumasawa has started preparing breakfast. She said that she would need just a little longer.
The clock read a little past 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock should have been the time when breakfast started. Normally going over that time limit would be a disgrace to the host.
Cannon is now searching outside. Also, no one has seen Shannon either. Even Shannon's missing. Truly, just how many people did my husband bring with him on this little walk?
11.
6.
Oh.
Just how many people had gone missing by now? Oh, well, there we are. Now that the number was this large, it was starting to feel truly unpleasant, as though the people here were the only ones being left out of something interesting.
Hold on, let's go...
What could you possibly be going to?
Yeah. This one. 6 chosen by the key as sacrifices. Second twilight, those who remain shall tear apart the 2 who are close. Now I'm intrigued.
Shall we continue?
Sure.
Yeah, hop on this.
Now the number was large. It was starting to feel truly unpleasant, as though the people here were the only ones being left out of something interesting. At least that seemed to reflect the feelings of children, and Maria in particular. She was indignant, her stomach grumbling, almost as though her mother and the others had left alone to go off and eat something delicious without her. The other children were flipping through the channels on the television, trying to find a program that might interest Maria and cheer her up again. Nanja was sitting on the sofa, gazing blissfully at the children while reading a book. Must have been a book about chess. The sound of footsteps came rushing towards them with a pitter-patter. There was only one set, so they realized before seeing that it belonged to, and it was probably Cannon, not Kraus and the rest.
Madam, excuse me. Judging by your appearance, you still haven't been able to find them. My apologies. I still haven't. That will be enough. You've worked hard.
She didn't know where they were, but they had to be somewhere on this island. They hadn't a thing to eat since the previous night, so their stomachs must be growling about now. They'd probably come plodding back of their own accord before long. By now, Natsuhi was thoroughly exasperated and started to feel that there was no reason for them to go out of their way in search.
I will go to the kitchen to prepare some tea for all of the guests. Thank you to both of you for all of your hard work so early in the morning.
Natsuhi left the parlor, acting as though the release in tension had caused a new surge in her headache. Cannon tried to call to her back, but Natsuhi left swiftly.
What is it? Was there something else? Yes. I was unable to find her husband or anyone else, but, well...
Cannon sounded evasive. It looked as though he didn't know where they were, but had spotted something that might be connected to their disappearance. Eva and Hideyoshi noticed this exchange of words and came over. They had probably picked up on something strange in Kanon's behavior.
What's going on, Kanon-kun? Did you find Krasny sound everyone else? Actually, the Rose Garden storehouse looks strange. What do you mean, it looks strange? It was, how should I explain it?
Covered in blood!
It was a bright red. I'm sure it was apples.
Kanon hesitated once more. His tone wasn't at all what you'd expect from this usually fearless boy. Seeing this, Eva and Hideyoshi looked at each other dubiously. What do you mean? Are you saying Nissan and the others are inside the storehouse?
No, I'm going to inspect the inside now. I just now came back to get the key, but, I don't really get it, but it sounds like let's go look around inside it. Where's the key to that storehouse? It is in the servant room. Let us check inside the storehouse at once.
Oh boy. I'm excited.
Alright.
Kanon dashed off to the servant room and returned with the key. Genji left the parlor, saying he would go check, but then Eva and Hideyoshi followed after him. I'm just gonna do my normal voice because I don't think this is Battler.
Do you want me to jump? Want to jump back on
that's
it?
alright, I got it.
Okay.
What was this something strange about the storehouse that had caused the usually fearless Kanon to hesitate? It was still pouring outside, but perhaps their curiosity over this something that Kanon couldn't talk about won out. While the children made a big fuss watching television, Kanon and the rest dashed over to the entrance.
May I?
Sure.
Yeah, take back over. The Rose Garden storehouse was a place that housed various tools used to manage the garden. It was definitely not a pretty building. Because of its appearance, it had been built so that it was hidden in a corner of the Rose Garden. Kanon, Genji, Eva, and Hideyoshi came cutting across the Rose Garden holding umbrellas. They entered a small path just off the Rose Garden, which was normally off limits for those appreciating the garden and only used by those maintaining it. As they dashed down that, the storehouse came into view in front of them.
It's a rather unattractive looking door.
It was quite an old shed and a very unattractive door, and compared to the flawlessly perfect beauty of the Rose Garden, it was pretty seedy looking.
I get it, because flowers.
Flowers and seeds!
That joke does not reflect my current tension in this scene.
I was gonna say!
I'm feeling...
It's fine!
I'm feeling surprisingly nervous.
Stop feeling so nervous. I'm sure everything will be fine. Everyone is still alive. Nothing is wrong.
Everyone is still fine.
It was easy to understand why him built in a hard-to-see place. Eva and Hideyoshi arrived at the storehouse long after Kanon and Genji. You two sure are fast. I thought my heart was gonna explode.
Have to do some exercise, Jesus.
Yeah.
I never knew they had a storehouse way over here. But what is that?
When Eva looked where Kanon was pointing, she was at a loss for words. Noticing this, Hideyoshi also followed Kanon's finger and was likewise too shocked to speak. The entrance to the storehouse was a kind of shutter. And there, everyone suddenly realized why Kanon had been unable to find words to describe what they now saw. On the shutter! Come on! Which is completely filthy for being exposed to wind and rain for so long. Suck right on it!
Oh! Oh!
There was...
something that looked like a strange dark red liquid.
Yes.
What?
Mucus?
Mucus! I don't remember mucus being red, thank you. Hold on.
Maybe not your mucus.
I'm just pouring myself from tea. I can't handle this right now. Oh my goodness.
Maybe it was some sticky paint.
I am so excited for the murders to have actually happened, but I wasn't ready.
I know, it just crept up on us. An indescribably eerie shape was drawn on the shutter with some kind of ghastly substance. The rain had caused it to drip down like fresh blood.
Like fresh blood?
Like fresh blood? Hold on.
Leaking from an open wound.
You got it. No more beating around the bush. Some kind of mark was drawn there with a ghastly substance that looked like blood.
Looked like blood.
In a shape that seemed to suggest something ominous.
Something ominous.
2 circles were drawn there, and inside them was a design that looked like a cross. The 4 ends of the cross were widely exaggerated, and it looked like some kind of crest from somewhere around Europe.
Uh-huh.
And in the cracks between these shapes, written closely packed together, were some unfamiliar characters or possibly symbols. What a vulgar bit of graffiti. Could this be one of those? One of those magic circles used in demonic ceremonies?
I'm so glad he jumped to conclusions.
It wasn't surprising that Hideyoshi would say that about such a ghastly shape, drawn with a deep red dripping substance.
When was this made?
Last night, I came here before it started raining, and there was nothing drawn here at that time. We must do something before anyone else sees this. If they laid eyes upon it, it would cause them great discomfort.
Oh, goodness, yes. That's right. Even though it's just a shed, I wouldn't want to leave such an unpleasant piece of graffiti alone for a second longer than I had to.
Graffiti. There is some paint inside the storehouse.
Oh, yeah,
Let us paint over it
Paint over it? Wash it off!
Paint over it temporarily as an emergency measure, then repaint it again someday when the weather is good. Dots. And you remembered that he had just recently seen just another scribble, and that it too had been made with a strange dark red substance of the same color as this. There must have been, that's right, he had seen it on the door to Natsuhi's room.
See, and he cleaned that one off, so he could have just cleaned this one.
I don't know,
off.
has he cleaned that one off?
They
or
haven't
did he just say he was
he
going
said
to?
he was going to.
Yeah, we don't know if he has or not. It's probably still there, it's fine. Natsuhi isn't gonna have a good time in a room
Cannon
tonight.
could. Let's remove this scribble quickly and go back, okay? Even though it's just the storehouse, it's really irritating to have graffiti around the home I was brought up in, even though she didn't know this building was here.
Yes, ma'am. I will take care of it immediately. Cannon squatted in front of the shutter and unlocked it, and then lifted it up with all of his strength.
And there were no corpses inside.
A boisterous noise resounded, and the eerie shape drawn on the shutter began to get sucked in through the top as the shutter was raised. At least for the time being, that ominous drawing disappeared from their direct gaze, and they all breathed a sigh of relief. ...
Oh, okay, good. I was a little concerned there.
Okay, we're cutting back. This is definitely you. Balor's here. I'm sure that this
Thanks
is
to
from
a
his
kids
perspective.
program they came across, Maria was feeling much better. Battler and Jessica were poking fun at the kids' show at every turn, cackling together. George was enjoying the program with Maria from her perspective. Andrew sat on the sofa by himself, passing time by reading quickly.
Quietly.
Oh,
It's okay. Quickly and quietly.
I'm reading quickly, clearly.
You are definitely reading quickly.
Definitely reading quickly.
We just want to get to the thing!
Ah! They
Keep going.
heard hurried footsteps coming from the hallway. They were the footsteps of a single person. Did that mean it wasn't the group of four that had just left? It was Genji. Very rare for Genji, who considered being out of breath a violation of a servant's virtues. He gasping for air. Probably come dashing back from outside the mansion. His shoulders were soaking wet. He didn't have his usual trim appearance. When Genji noticed Nanjo looking at him, he gave a small silent bow and quickly approached him.
Dr. Nanjo, my apologies. Please come with me quickly. What? What is the matter?
As Genji whispered something into Nanjo's ear, Nanjo went pale.
And wind blew.
He rose from the sofa, trying not to be noticed by the children who were still engrossed by the TV. The two of them rapidly left the parlor, muffling their footsteps. Just as they were about to exit the parlor, they came across Natsuhi, who was pushing a servant cart loaded with a tea set.
Oh.
Genji whispered something into Natsuhi's ear, and Natsuhi went pale too in apparent shock. And leaving the serving cart where it was, the three of them dashed towards the entrance. George noticed them running down the rose garden through the window.
Well, what's that? Isn't that Genji-san and Dr. Nanjo? And that's not Natsuhi, isn't it?
What's up, Aniki?
Maybe something happened. They look terribly flustered.
When Jessica and Maria saw that Eva, Hideyoshi, and Nanjo were no longer in the seats and that the serving cart had been abandoned in the entrance to the parlor, they also realized something was the matter. Could there have been some kind of accident? Let's go check it out. It's no fun if we're the only ones left out, right? For some reason, what Butler said sounded extremely indiscreet. But they couldn't deny that they were a little insecure and concerned after seeing the adults run off into the rain without regards to their appearance. Now, let's check it out, okay? I'm worried something might have happened. Jessica's uneasy words spoke for all of them. This isn't Batman.
That's fun.
This is the narrator. Hey Maria, you coming too? Why don't you watch TV?
Ooh. Why don't watch TV? Ooh. Let's go on without her. Maria-chan will be back soon. You keep watching TV, okay? Ooh.
Oh god. By the time the kids made it outside, the adults were no longer in sight. But Jessica seemed to have a pretty good idea where they'd gone, judging by the direction they'd been running. Following Jessica, we ran through the rain-soaked rose garden. The wind seemed to suddenly get stronger. The malicious sound of thunder began to ring out like it had the previous night. It felt like an eerie something had surrounded the island and was trying to stop us from moving forwards. Jessica, is there something over this way? I'm pretty sure there's a storehouse for gardening tools or something.
What in the world could be going on in a place like that?
Just as Jessica had said, they began to see a storehouse in front of them. You could also see the adults there. The shutter to the storehouse was open, and several adults looked as though they were searching for something. For some reason, only Natsuhi was outside the storehouse. Without even holding an umbrella, she looked like she was hanging her head and her back was facing them. It was Genji, Nanjo, and Natsuhi who'd just left the mansion. The ones who'd left earlier, Kanon, Eva, and Hideyoshi, were also there, making for a small crowd of people. There was absolutely no bustle of activity. When Natsuhi realized that the children were approaching, a terrible expression rose to her face, and she ran at them with her arms spread wide.
You mustn't come any closer! Go back to the mansion!
But despite that, no, because of that, the kids saw the scene Natsuhi was trying to keep them away from. Inside the storehouse, with its shutter wide open, a faint fluorescent light shone down. And right there was... Ah! Jessica's piercing shriek rang out. But that was just because Jessica's scream was the loudest. The same thing spilled out of Battler and George's mouths as well.
I don't know what you want me to say.
Is this just we just ended the Matrix or something?
I don't know. This music is pretty intense. This is Golden Slaughterer.
Golden Slaughter.
Yeah.
What a track name.
Slaughterer. This is someone who's...
Yeah.
Please continue.
Eva spread her arms, just like Natsuhi, roaring at the kids with a bone-chilling expression on her face. George, take everyone and return to the mansion! Quickly! Right now! When Natsuhi spread her arms, I thought she was... Oh, here we go. When Natsuhi spread her arms, I thought she was trying to prevent us from advancing any further. That wasn't why Eva was spreading her arms right now. She was trying to stop us kids from seeing that terrible scene. It was her mother's heart, trying to protect the eyes and hearts of us children by blocking our view of that terrible scene, at least by the width of her arms. Is this some kind of joke? Is it... I'd seen this kind of cheap scene all too often. In manga, TV, anime, movies, I'd seen it over and over again. This was just seeing something appear in real life that I'd seen plenty of times before in some of those more sensational movies, right? Alone shouldn't... Suit... that old bastard, isn't it? I get it, that's Uncle Kraus. Harrison and Aunt Rosa. Dead!
You mustn't, Jessica. You mustn't go in. You mustn't look.
Dead!
Your mortars are set in across almost the entire body. Most likely, 6 hours or more have passed since death. As far as I can tell by looking at the damaged area, there's a high probability that they were damaged after the deaths. No, I must watch what I say. I'm a general practitioner. Examining corpses is outside my expertise. So what does that mean? Just killing them wasn't enough, so they went on to do something like this? The devil, here's the work of the devil!
Well, Natsuhi caught Jessica in her arms, and Aunt Eva caught George and Iki. So I was the only one who could approach the entrance to the storehouse. If only there had been someone there to catch me too, I wouldn't have needed to have this horrible, evil scene burned into my eye. No, that's not it. There's no one here to catch me. People who should catch me, they're right there, aren't they? As Jessica said, it did look like a storehouse for gardening tools. Lawnmower with extra blades, a grass sickle, and a hammer. Communism. Some carpentry and tools such as a saw. Piled up potted plants and bags of fertilizer. Treated just the same, the corpses of several people had been laid to rest there. No, had been tossed in there. I could tell them by their clothes. Old bastard and Kairi-san, Uncle Kras, and Aunt Rosa.
Oh, I don't want to look.
Beyond that, Goda-san and... There's still more of them?
Can you right click real quick?
Yep.
Go system. Go characters down the bottom, middle.
Oh!
I told you it would change.
That's a little cheap.
That's great.
Does that change if we go new images?
Probably.
Oh, that's...
It's a bit nastier in the new images.
Visceral.
It's fucked up. Yeah, they've all had their faces mashed in.
He's alright.
He's fine.
He'll be fine.
You can still see half his face. But that's only 5 bodies.
I love how they actually kept how much of his face was...
It's great. I love this game. Have I mentioned that? This is so good.
Alright.
Anyway, let's go back. Let's find out who the 6th person is.
Still more of them? How many people died? You're fucking kidding me. I can't even count them on one hand. Damn it! I know whether it'd be one of these gardening tools, which if used for something other than their intended purpose could definitely be wielded with naked brutality. Or some horrible tool had been brought in here specifically for this. Anyway, each one of these bodies jammed in here had been given an atrocious makeup. The makeup, it was more like their faces had been plowed. Specifically their faces. Their faces were smashed, forced into expressions that normal people couldn't even make after death. Tell where the eyes or the noses were, but find their mouths because they're gaping wide, their gums exposed. Their front teeth were missing, and the cheeks that should have covered this were torn up and laid bare. That trendy makeup you always spend so much time on, even though your man isn't doing a thing now. Ah! Dad! I just thought you were going to hell. Still, not like this, right? You're such a son of a bitch. I should have suffered so brutally. Kyrie said, didn't I tell you to stop going out with this guy? There's absolutely no reason for you to end up like this, too. No faces! No faces! Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! Ah!
They're about to son. You mustn't look anymore. There's no way your mother and father would want you to see them like this. Your mother and your father's sakes, you mustn't look anymore.
People are supposed to have faces like they look like they're sleeping peacefully, right? Got no faces. My dad and Kyrie said have no faces. I don't even know what kind of faces they were wearing when they died. What's wrong with me? I have to see these smashed monster-like faces every time I remember them? That's just great. I didn't want to remember that old bastard smug face anyway. Just great. Why even Kyrie-san's face? Kyrie-san wasn't a crook. Sure, she'd take me off every now and then, but she was just a cool big sister to me. This is wrong. This is all wrong. At least Uncle process it better, doesn't he? Like his whole face, just the side. I love that they got that right. At least he's got half his face left, right? Left, right? It's still better. It's still better.
Then the whole face.
No!
Oh, this is Jessica.
That's right.
No!
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 Jessica filled her ears with the sound of Rowan screaming, trying to shut out my reckless words.
Yep.
Stop it, Badlicker. Just stop it. Stop it. Who's this? I don't think
Jessica.
This is Jessica?
Yeah, this is Jessica.
Stop it. Stop it.
Oh, this is oh, okay. Aniki. Oh, that's Bella. Oh, God.
Who
It's
knows?
so confusing. Keep going.
Disregarding age and appearance, fell to my knees, clinging to Aniki's waist and sobbing. As if I was crying on behalf of everyone there. Representing the feelings of everyone there, I screamed over and over.
Yep.
I'm gonna die tonight, he said.
Yeah.
But that's funny thing, Dad.
You actually did just die.
Oh my God, he did.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
That's right, only 9 more days until they're resurrected, right?
Yeah, that's how that works. Father, that one's lying dead, lying over there. Uncle Kraus, Uncle Rudolph, and Kyrie, and Aunt Rose and Ghost-san. It's those 5, right? No. There are 6 people. There's one more person over there.
Buddy Hideyoshi was looking down on now that happened to be hidden amongst the shadows in that mountain range of objects. A blind spot to George, who stood by the entrance. So George couldn't tell whose body it was. So George cursed himself. He cursed the fact that his worst guesses always turned out to be right.
So, the one lying at your feet is Shannon, isn't it? Yes. It's Shannon Chan.
Ooh, what was that?
That was the same thing as before. Let's go system. Let's take a look.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what that
I
little
hadn't
blinking
actually.
sound.
Oh, wait.
No,
Oops.
system.
I thought that I already had blocked out Shannon.
No.
Oh, wait, it actually tells us.
It tells us a little bit about them. Would you like to read those before we continue?
Sure.
Yeah.
So, Shiramiya Kraus, his corpse was found inside the Rose Garden storehouse. The direct cause of death is unknown, but it seems the side of his head was smashed after his death. This is the beginning of everything.
Shiramiya Rudolph, his corpse was found inside the Rose Garden storehouse. His face seems to have been smashed after death. He has a right to lament his ill fortune. Shiramiya Kairi, her corpse was found inside the Rose Garden storehouse. Her face seems to have been smashed in after her death. She was chosen by the demon's roulette. That's all there is to it.
Shiramiya Rosa, her corpse was found inside the Rose Garden storehouse. Her face seems to have been smashed after death. I'll get to see her again, so I don't feel lonely. Who is this? What?
It's a good question.
What? I'm not even going to read the first bit because I'm assuming it's the same for everyone. It says the side.
So it's
Shannon.
so it's different for like Kraus and Shannon have half their face meshed in. Everyone else has their full face.
Don't worry, everyone will be revived in the Golden Land.
Servant Goda. Face seems to have been smashed after his death. How unfortunate. Apparently he was originally supposed to be on duty in the guest house.
Assuming this is Beatrice at this point. But I'm assuming that can neither be confirmed nor denied.
No confirming or denying from me. Yeah, it's Shannon Chan. Yeah.
George fell completely silent. He shook slightly, his lower lip trembling. Normally, he would have wanted to outrun his beloved's body, screaming and crying. However, before rashly rushing forward, he worked to keep his composure and asked his father.
Is Shannon the same as Uncle Kraus and the others?
Hideyoshi deeply understood the meaning of those words, so he couldn't give George an immediate answer. Rather, he felt that silence was the only sincere and loving response he could give George right now. When George asked if Shannon was the same, he meant to ask whether her corpse was in the same condition as the others or not. Since Hideyoshi hadn't denied it, then her corpse was in the same brutal state.
Can I look at Shannon? No, you can't. Why not? After all, I won't be able to see Shannon's face again, right? So why won't you let me see what her face looked like at the end? The last time we met Shannon-chan was yesterday, right? Yeah? I see. When you left her, what kind of face was she showing you? It was a wonderful smile. After he handed her the ring, she hesitated, even though she must have already made up her mind. Then she looked bashful, and ran away, because she was embarrassed to let him see her face looking like that. That's the expression that was revived in George's mind. I see. Then I'm sure Shannon-chan would want to leave you with that smile in your memory. Hideyoshi looked down upon Shannon's body lying at his feet. Just like the other bodies, it was in such a horrible state that it would make anyone want to cover their eyes. Her head had been smashed in from the side, and no more than half of her expression remained. The remaining blood-soaked half of her expression had been wiped clean. Would that graceful smile of hers have peeked out? Only half of it. Without thinking, Hideyoshi slapped his hands over his eyes. How brutal. If her face was going to be crushed anyway, then if only all of it had been crushed, he might have been able to temporarily distract George from his pain by making the pathetic suggestion that it was someone else wearing Shannon's clothes. But half of her face had been left untouched. It caused the body so much humiliation, while still proving beyond doubt that the body was Shannon's and no one else's. How inhuman, how brutish. And there, trying his best to burn the image of the remaining half of Shannon's expression into his eyes, she lay at Hideyoshi's feet, was Cannon. Cannon was not crying. Tears had risen to his eyes, but they did not drip down. That didn't mean he wasn't feeling as much sadness as everyone else. Losing Shannon, who would live with him in the same orphanage, whom he had loved as a sister, must have been just the same as losing a blood relative. George, I'm sure Shannon-chan is saying thank you. She must be glad you didn't end up seeing her in such a pitiful state. I'm sure she's thanking you for holding strong and showing restraint. I understand. I understand, Father. I understand. George leaned against the outside wall of the storehouse, crouching down limply. Father, I have a request. What is it? I want you to look for me. Is there a ring on Shannon's finger? A ring? Let me see. Hideyoshi crouched down. As he did, Kaden silently pointed to one of Shannon's hands. Yeah, there is. It's a diamond ring. With a valuable diamond. Must have been pretty expensive. And which hand and which finger is it on? The ring finger of her left hand. I see. So Shannon-chan was engaged.
George, don't tell me you...
Eva! It doesn't matter now. A man made a lifelong promise to Shannon-chan. A man promised her happiness for life. Who that man was isn't the issue here. Being told that by a man is a woman's dream, isn't it? I don't know when she received this ring. I also don't know who gave it to her. However, even so, Shannon-chan took this ring. Then she accepted it and put it on her left ring finger. I'm sure the man who gave it to her was also happy. Most of the people there, Hideyoshi was simply disturbed by this extraordinary situation and was blurting out nonsense. However, someone who knew of George and Shannon's true relationship would understand the full meaning of those words. I see. Thank you, Father. George stood up. Traces of tears still streaked his face, but his expression had returned to its usual calm one. Let's go. Pelican, Jessica-chan. If we stay here any longer, we'll get in the way of the adults.
You're right.
Jessica sniffled once, showing her face to her mother, who had been holding her the whole time to let her know she was okay now. When she faced George again, she once again had on her usual expression, though she still couldn't smile.
Battler, hang in there.
Battler kept on crouching in front of his parents' bodies.
I'm sorry. Crying like hell calmed me down. Bastard, Dad, I bet you're laughing at me. After all that shit I talked about you, here I am crying like a baby just 'cause you died. Well, so what? I guess I just got the gene that makes you cry when your parents kick the bucket.
Up on it.
Battler's face was still bright red from the tears, but he had at least recovered enough to fake a smile, if only a bitter one.
Cannon, you mustn't remain here any longer either. Take the children and return to the mansion.
Natsuhi had been standing under the rain this whole time, unable to take a step into the storehouse. Maybe she had her own way of grieving, different from Battler's. Realizing that she had to take on a role of responsibility now that her husband was dead, she gave Cannon those orders.
Yes, madam.
Cannon rose silently and turned to face me. His face was pure white, almost as though his own heart had died along with Shannon, and there was no life in his expression. On an ordinary day, if he'd been told to guide the children through the beautiful rose garden, Cannon might have led the way. But now there was no distinction between Cannon and the children. They were now just kids about the same age, suffering the pain of losing those close to them. After making sure the children were leaving, Natsuhi started giving orders to Genji.
Genji, contact the police immediately. They probably won't be able to come until the typhoon passes, but they should be able to tell us what to do next. Understood. There is an emergency radio, so I'll use that to contact them. When she heard that, Natsuhi remembered. That's right, the phones were out today, weren't they? However, they also had a radio, since they couldn't necessarily rely on phones all the time while living on an isolated island. At any rate, they should start by contacting the police and receiving their instructions. Everything else could wait. Dr. Nanjo, is there anything more you can do here? Unfortunately, there is nothing I can do. Understood. Genji, could you at least cover their faces with something? Exposing them like this is humiliating to them as well. Yes, Mom. Genji picked up several dried-up towels from inside the storehouse, when Eva stopped him with a shrill voice.
Wait a second. Stop. This is the scene of the crime, isn't it? We mustn't disturb it. We all panicked and walked in here with our shoes. Even that will surely get in the way of the police's investigation, right?
Natsuhi glared at Eva, offended. Objectively speaking, Eva was right. Even so, she glared at Eva as though accusing her of refusing to do those tragic corpses which had been humiliating even after death, the simple kindness of covering their faces. However, Eva had spoken both calmly and correctly. This horrible situation definitely wasn't an accident. It was a crime. Someone had killed them. It was a murder case. So they needed to be careful to avoid disturbing the site any further. They had to do what little they could to aid the police, just leaving clues that might help catch the detestable culprit. I agree with Eva-san. Until the police come, we should leave everything be. What do you say, madam? You're right. Very well. Close it up. And, just in case, we should put a different lock on it. A different lock? Yes. When we came here, the shutter was locked. That means the culprit used the key to the shutter to lock it. Yeah, that makes sense. Does that mean the key that opens this shutter will have the culprit's fingerprints on it?
I'm sure it'll be worth submitting to the police as evidence. Canon-kun usually has it, and he used it to unlock the shed just now. He'll probably have Kanon's fingerprints all over it. That key was handed to Genji-san just now, and he took it with his bare hands. Doesn't look like it'll be very useful as evidence.
That was careless of me. My apologies. Genji-san, are there any other keys to the storehouse? No. Only this one.
That seems like an oversight.
Yeah. So the culprit walked out of the servant room with that key, and they was nice enough to return the key to where they found it. Well, look at this. Hideyoshi's theory sounded plausible, but was actually very strange if you thought about it. Why would they go to all the trouble of returning a key they stole? No, if you think about it even more deeply, there are some points that are even more bizarre. When a criminal hides a body, they're usually trying to delay the point at which it will be found, so they can use that time to escape. The six weren't necessarily killed here, but it was reasonable to assume that they were killed somewhere on this island, carried to the storehouse, and hidden to delay the discovery of the crime. And yet the eerie magic circle scribbled on the storehouse shutter had eloquently indicated the location of the hidden corpses. Sure, it didn't explicitly mention the corpses, but 6 people had gone missing. In that situation, someone had made such an obvious piece of graffiti and even returned the key to the shutter, almost as though they wanted the corpses here to be discovered. Anyway, we can't put all our faith in a lock that the culprit has opened once before. If we want to protect this place from the culprit's hand, I think we should put a new lock on it. I think that's a good plan. I agree. Genji fished around inside the storehouse and unsealed a brand new padlock that had been inside a small box. What should I do with the key? I will take it. I will take responsibility and hand it over to the police. As he took the key to the padlock from Genji's hand. After that, they all exited and lowered the shutter. And so the corpses were once again sealed behind that shutter, which was still covered with that creepy magic circle. Genji crouched down in front of the shutter to fasten the new padlock. Shutters often have a place in front where you can attach your own lock in addition to the main lock of the shutter. This is one of those types. In the midst of the roar of thunder and the pouring rain, the storehouse stood there ominously. With its closed shutter still covered in a blood-like, creepy substance, it slaughtered the bodies of the 6. To Natsuhi, putting the new lock on wasn't mainly to preserve the scene for the police. She might have felt like she wanted to shut that mouth for all eternity. To prevent that eerie beast from swallowing up any more victims. Come on, let's go, everyone. To Najo, thank you very much for your work. Genji, hurry and contact the police. I will do so as soon as I return. The adults left the storehouse. The ghastly magic circle drawn on the shutter kept the 6 bodies in its throat, looming eerily as the lightning occasionally lit it up.
So.
Yes. Yeah, that was... Wow.
Woo! That was...
First murder.
Yeah, well, first 6 murders.
I know. I love that, because I was talking to you about, like, what do you expect to happen for the murder? You're like, well, I think it'll be one of the 18 people who's killed, but it was 6 of them.
Yeah, I mean... wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. I'm pretty excited. I don't know, the fact that you weren't expecting that to happen, I think, is just really fun for me.
I mean, like, I can't say, like, the thing is I'm coming into this expecting
Blind.
my expectations to be wrong.
Yes, of course.
So I can't really say I was surprised, but it was definitely the thing I was not expecting the least.
Yes. Once again, like, I feel like you're expecting something like, this is the murder, this is happening, but like that, it just happened. It was like, we're waking up, there are dead people there. Deal with it. Like, that's...
Yeah, I mean, I thought that the pan over of all the people at night would be like, hey, here's everyone before someone dies.
Yeah, definitely. But then it was 6 of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, do we want to, I don't know, maybe go over the 6 people just one more time so we know who they are?
Sure.
Because I feel like, especially having not read all 8 episodes, you won't be able to remember who's died. So we got Shannon, Goda, Rosa, Rudolph and Kyrie, and then Kraus.
So this is the only couple that's remaining.
Yes, that's
which
true.
I'm assuming when we go here...
No, this is the hints don't change. It's just the character portraits.
No, I know, but I'm assuming on the second Twilight.
Right.
Those who remain shall tear apart the 2 who are close. I'm taking a wild stab and saying that, considering these are the only 2 left in a couple, that's probably going to have something to do with it.
Maybe.
Unless we have another couple of characters show up.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
I mean, that's not a terrible way to go about it. The epitaph is, like, it's a tip, so it's obviously important. Same as the letter that we read through. Yeah, I know. If you wanted to, like, look through the letter real quick, look for any hints, certainly. Feel for it.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know if anything jumps out at you. I don't expect anything to, but...
No.
Just that the witch is going to collect on the Ashura family's interest. Unless they discover the hidden gold by resolving the epitaph, which seems to be currently being carried out. Perhaps. There's 6 people dead. The weird magic circles and junk. What are you doing?
Oh,
characters.
Right, I have to hit next.
Nice.
I was like, why isn't it switching?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Hmm?
Yeah. You want to look through anything else? Or just kind of look through it just a little bit. Just a little look-see. Oh, this is fun. I'm loving this.
The thing I'm wondering, right,
Yeah.
is supposedly they need this like key from this place, right?
Yes. Yes. In order to select the sacrifices, you require the key. The key which is found at the shore that 2 will tell you of, and that's in a village, and you'll find that at the end of a stream, supposedly.
So I'm assuming, considering the rest of this has started, someone in the story already has the key.
Okay.
Do
you think you know who that is? If that's a true thing. Someone has the key for selecting the sacrifices.
That's... See, my first thought would have been that the actual, like, piece of gold that Kraus had...
Was the key.
But
Kraus is dead.
Kraus is dead.
Yeah, totally.
So... I don't know. Kinzo was still very down to the idea of the demon's roulette, so I don't think it's him.
Yeah, he's very open with, like, this is the roulette, and this is when I fight Beatrice. And that's how it's going to go.
Yeah.
With this...
I don't think any... I think, like, the kids are clearly meant to be plot devices, rather than probably actually being too wrapped up in the mystery, at this point, at least.
That's an assessment you can make. Sure. Yeah.
Who else?
There are the servants.
Yeah, I mean...
and then obviously Eva and Hideyoshi and Nacho.
I feel like the symbolism of Genji giving over the key in the morning was probably meant to be indicative of something, but I don't know if it's meant to be misdirecting.
We haven't seen Kumasawa yet.
We haven't.
She hasn't been here at all.
Therefore, it must be her.
And then, of course, there's Canon. Completely forgotten because Aegis is the best character who doesn't talk much.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I mean, you haven't mentioned the siblings that are living right now at all. Natsuhi, Eva, and Hideyoshi. Do you think that any of those 3 could have done it?
I mean...
What do you think about Natsuhi?
I don't know. See, the other problem I have is the assumption that it is one of these 18 people. I don't even think
So here's the thing. This is a good place to discuss this because Kyrie did bring up, she was like, there could be a 19th person. She doesn't think there is.
Yeah.
But she's dead now.
Yeah.
So there is a question of whether there is a 19th person. Like there are 2 extra boxes on the screen, which could indicate up to 2 other characters on the island. So it is.
Are there 2 extra boxes? I thought that was just space for the sake of organization.
I mean, it's up to you how to interpret that, I suppose. I suppose Rose's spot
I'm
really
assuming
is...
this one, like, on the left between Nanjo is
Nanjo and
probably
Genji?
actually meant for something. I'm assuming at this point it's Beatrice.
Okay, so it's a fair assessment, I guess.
This one I think is here intentionally because Eva...
Rosa.
Sorry, Rosa.
God damn you. Yeah, her husband didn't show up to the meeting.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, there are those 2 extra slots, so there is room for more characters. But I don't know, like, do you have a strong feeling one way or the other on whether there is a 19th person, or if the culprit is one of the 18? Or culprits, I suppose.
I mean, I feel relatively confident that there will be a 19th person involved in this.
Okay.
The problem is that one of the very few things you have told me is that we will have a shit ton of characters by the end of this.
I have. This is unfortunate.
So, like, I'm trying to put together whether, like, that's going to be, new characters for each episode, or
yeah,
if
bearing that... Actually, yeah, this is a good time, actually, because you don't know what's going on. So bearing that in mind... We just killed 6 people in one episode.
Yeah.
What are your expectations for the following episodes? What do you think is going to happen? Like,
I mean,
there's 8 of them.
I feel like we're probably going to get to some parallel stories at some point.
Okay.
Because I know when you were reading this through the first time and just telling me about it on the side...
Don't say any of that stuff, because I probably shouldn't have told you any of that.
I mean, you really shouldn't have. But at the same time, we didn't know that we were going to do this at that point.
It's true. Also, I hadn't finished the story yet.
Yeah,
so.
but, like, you were saying, like, oh, I thought the story was very clearly going in this direction, and then suddenly we're somewhere else.
Took a left turn, yeah, totally.
So, like, I'm assuming we're probably maybe going to get some parallel stories. I'm assuming that's where the extra characters will come in. But otherwise, I don't really know.
Yeah, you were saying you think there's going to be, like, extra family trees, maybe.
Yeah.
For, like, different murders or whatever's going on with us.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
But at the moment, I don't know. The main thing is I still don't know whether the black magic stuff is meant to be, like, spoopy for the sake of being spoopy, or if it's actually supposed to be, like, real in this setting.
That's a great question.
Because, like, very clearly they've had, like, the imagery of the butterfly and stuff, but there's nothing that's been, like, straight up supernatural.
Yeah, there haven't been any, like magic spells or, like, weird demon shit. Like, none of that has happened. It's just been, like, there's this weird spell book, and there's these plastic scorpion charms will protect you from witches and all this shit.
I'm assuming at this point that the black magic stuff will be real, because there has been, like, Maria giving the extremely eloquent speech.
Yes. What do you think is up with Maria, by the way? Just while we're on that topic. Do you have any theories?
I mean, it has to be something to do with the black magic, right? I feel like if any of the 18 people here is Beatrice, it's probably Maria.
Because if we're talking, I think that, like, at the end of this playthrough, we should go through each of the different kind of puzzles that have been presented and, like, go through them with them.
Yeah.
But one of them very explicitly is, like, how did Maria get the letter? How did all that happen? That's something that we should talk about. If you have anything you'd like to throw right now, go for it. But, like, we should definitely talk about that, post-game discussion. I like that we're having kind of a mid-game break as soon as the murders happen. This is cool. But yeah, I'm sure that everything will be revealed. I'm sure that there is an answer, which I cannot confirm or deny that there is an answer. But I guess we'll come back in a little bit to see if we can figure out what's going on.
It's like I'm so used to a conventional murder mystery from the little that I have consumed.
Yep.
So, like,
this is not conventional at all.
To have a black magic involved, maybe real, maybe not real, anime style murder mystery is certainly new.
Yeah. I don't like to talk about how much I fucking love this thing too much, but this story is both very traditional, like you even put out when the storm was coming in, you were like, oh, it's there to self-contain the mystery. Like, yes, that's what it's there for.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of very conventional stuff going on in this story, but also a lot of very unconventional stuff, and the way that the author plays with that is really awesome. I love it. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else you want to say about the corpses we've just found. Anything, any interesting stuff that springs to mind? Otherwise, I guess we can just continue on to
I think
see what happens.
We'll put a break on this episode.
Yeah.
And come back for this next chapter. I'm excited.
Let's lower the intensity a little bit. Oh my god.
Boy.